New evidence of a direct payment to Joe Biden. A lot of people on the left have been saying, where's the evidence? Well, here's one version of it. It's a giant check for $200,000, drafted on March 1st, 2001, paying to the order of Joseph R. Biden Jr. And look at this here. It says loan repayment. And where's this money coming from? His bro, James Biden Sr. Check number 6171 for $200 grand. Man, that's a lot. And so we're going to talk about exactly what happened here. James Comer made the announcement from the Oversight Committee. And the question is, where did the money come from? Where did it go? What was it for? What did Joe Biden do to get it? Well, here is what Comer says before we get into the filing that explains in more detail exactly what happened. Here's Comer.
This summer, Joe Biden said, where's the money? Well, we found some. We're still digging into evidence subpoenaed from bank accounts belonging to Hunter Biden, the son of President Joe Biden, and James and Sarah Biden, the brother and sister-in-law of the president. A document that we're releasing today raises new questions about how President Biden personally benefited from his family's shady influence peddling of his last name and their access to him. Bank records obtained by the House Committee on Oversight have revealed a $200,000 direct payment from James and Sarah Biden to Joe Biden in the form of a personal check. Here's some important context about this check we've obtained in our investigation. In 2018, James Biden received $600,000 in loans from AmeriCorps, a financially distressed and failing rural hospital operator. According to bankruptcy court documents, James Biden received these loans, quote, based upon representations that his last name, Biden, could open doors and that he could obtain a large investment from the Middle East based on his political connections, end quote.
That's weird.
On March 1st, 2018, AmeriCorps wired a $200,000 loan into James and Sarah Biden's personal bank account, not their business bank account. And then on the very same day, James Biden wrote a $200,000 check from this same personal bank account to Joe Biden. James Biden wrote this check to Joe Biden as a, quote, loan repayment. AmeriCorps, a distressed company, loaned money to James Biden, who then sent it to Joe Biden. Even if this was a personal loan repayment, it's still troubling that Joe Biden's ability to be paid back by his brother depended on the success of his family's shady financial dealings. Some immediate questions President Biden must answer for the American people. Does he have documents proving he lent such a large sum of money to his brother? And what were the terms of such financial agreement? Did he have similar financial agreements with other family members that led them to make similar large payments to him?
Yeah, how long was the term of the loan?
And did he know that the same day James Biden wrote him a check for $200,000, James Biden had just received a loan for the exact same amount from business dealings with a company that was in financial distress and failing? The House Oversight Committee will soon announce our next investigative actions and continue to follow the money. The bank records don't end here. There's more to come.
There is more to come. Hate feeling miserable the day after drinks? I did too. Luckily, a game-changing product called ZBiotics is here to help. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink alcohol, it gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for the rough next day. ZBiotics Pre-Alcohol Probiotic produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. It's designed to work like your liver, but in your gut, where you need it most. Just remember to drink ZBiotics before drinking alcohol, drink responsibly, and get a good night's sleep to feel your best the next day. That's it. Pretty easy. I wish I had this during law school. Here's how it works. They come in little bottles, very convenient. You give one a good shake, twist the top off, slam it back, and you're done. Easy. Tastes delicious, goes down smooth. I got the 6-pack, which looks like this. It comes with an instructional booklet inside that gives you more details on how to use it and how it works. A very simple twist top right here. And of course, the reminder to drink responsibly is printed on every bottle, which is always very important, and that's coming from a former criminal defense attorney. So this Halloween, pair your candy and your cocktails with ZBiotics to avoid a spooky next morning. Go to zbiotics.com/RobertG or scan the QR code on the screen right now to get 15% 15% off your first order when you use Robert G at checkout. You can also sign up for a subscription using my code so you can stay prepared no matter the time or the occasion. ZBiotics is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/RobertG and use the code RobertG at checkout for 15% off. Thank you to ZBiotics for sponsoring this episode. And we have the entire bankruptcy filing that unveils what's happening inside. You can see those two organizations that James Comer was talking about. One of those was called AmeriCorps Holdings. And AmeriCorps Holdings is in the middle of this bankruptcy. You can see this document right here. And it is against, they're filing this one document against James Biden. And what they're asking for is to recover the fraudulent money. Okay, so AmeriCorps is going through bankruptcy. They're going through this accounting. Where'd all our money go? This one's in the Eastern District of Kentucky. And somebody somewhere finds this transfer, okay, this trustee, this woman, Carol Fox. She's the person who is winding down the assets of AmeriCorps Holdings, selling stuff off. And she says, well, I found this transaction that says that a lot of money was given over to James Biden. And in fact, this is what the check looks like. You see it drafted here. And it is listed Joseph Biden Jr. and sent over by James Biden, also with Sarah listed at the top. Now they got the bank account numbers redacted, 6171, March 1st, 2018. Joe Biden is not in office at this time. Okay, Donald Trump is. 200 grand, 200,000 and 0 zeros, and it's for loan repayment, right? You can see that. Now, a lot of this loan repayment stuff is just garbage. It's just to hide money from the IRS, is really what it comes down to. And they say, no, it's a bad loan, or write it off. You know, you put loan repayment rather than cash for corrupt deal. You know what I'm saying? So that's what the check looks like. But this is where it came from. Now, Carol Fox is the trustee. So business goes through bankruptcy. They assign a trustee. She's like a fiduciary, and she's got to go and find out where all the money went. How do we go bankrupt? So she's here. Now, AmeriCorps is a debtor, and they hear everybody now, AmeriCorps, they file this complaint against James Biden. That's the president's bro, stating the following. They say, this court has jurisdiction. We're in the right location. We're here in bankruptcy court. And they say that AmeriCorps is a for-profit business. They never had direct ownership interest in these rural hospitals, all right? We had rural hospitals all over the place, St. Alexius Hospital. And by the way, the Bidens are like ripping off hospitals, by the way, as we're going to see. Elwood City Hospital, Izzard Medical Center, Pineville Medical Center, including Lee County Medical Center. Now they say upon information and belief, the trustee says that James Biden is an individual and a Pennsylvania resident. They tell us that on December 31st, the debtors, AmeriCorps, filed this petition for bankruptcy. And we entered into an agreement to appoint our trustee who's going to go track down the money. We've done that. Her name is Miss Fox. Miss Fox is now in charge. They say, all right, I've done our investigation here. Now, on June 12th, 2018, AmeriCorps Health wired $400,000 to James Biden's PNC bank account. Pay 400 grand to the president's bro. January 12th, we remember the check was on March 1st. So the money goes into James's account in January. That PNC bank located in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. The documentation evidencing the wire transfer, you know, there's wire transfers notes, it says loan. Okay, so that's curious. Why is James Biden getting a loan from AmeriCorps Health for hospitals? What does he need a loan from them for? Are they in the loaning business? Probably not. Now, on March 8th, check that out, the same date as the check. So 400 grand comes in January. Then they transfer another sum of $200,000 to James's bank account, once again located in Philly. The documentation evidencing the foregoing wire also said loan. Okay, so another 200 grand came in. Now, a couple months later on June 4th, another sum, $10,000, goes into the JP Morgan Chase, different bank. This one's in New York. The documentation evidencing that wire transfer was also prepared by AmeriCorps Health, and it references consulting and marketing, May 2018. So, right, she's the trustee. She's going through all their books. She's like, gosh, she got spreadsheets coming out the wazoo. And she assembles this little chart here. She says, okay, here's a $400,000 cash payment. For what? Software? What is this, like new equipment? Did you like buy a new, doctor or something, like as a salary? What did you do with this money? Here's another one, 200 grand, and another one for $10,000. She's trying to figure out where it all went, 610 grand in total, saying that we have the actual correct documents attached. Now, they say, let me tell you, court, about defendant's relationship with the hospital, talking about James Biden. It says, by information and belief, James procured $600,000 in loans from AmeriCorps Health. This is from the trustee writing this. And it says, based upon representations, like why he got that money, he made representations that his last name, quote, Biden, right there, could, quote, open doors, and that he could obtain a large investment from the Middle East based on his political connections. You see how that goes? So the hospital was trying to get him to go get them money, and so they were paying him to do that. He was going to use his last name as Biden, and this is the trustee that's filing this, right? This is not like some Republican, okay? Here, let's see who signed off on this document. All right, Gary Friedman, the attorneys, and Frank Terzo, the attorneys for the trustee. See that? So this isn't like the Oversight Committee. This is filing, by the way, that happened in 2022, in July. Okay, so there's a whole separate person that has identified a whole separate business and $600,000 that was trading on the Biden's name. Now, debtors even provided James, the president's bro, with business cards saying that he was a principal with AmeriCorps Health so that he could go get money. So he's like a financing bundler. A redacted copy of his business card is now attached. Then, as a result of this, they say that he became a fiduciary. So when they put him on as a principal, that means he's got a duty to this company. Like he's got to bring them what he says. He has to care for them like he would be caring for his own company. But instead of complying with his responsibilities as a fiduciary, he helped the debtors procure an ill-advised bridge loan from a hedge fund, right? So like when you're a fiduciary, you should be treating it as like your own. So defendant helped them get a bridge loan, probably from some other hedge fund that was also probably paying him. And it had a deleterious effect on their financial affairs, right? Probably put them in there like 30% interest and ultimately forced them into bankruptcy. James Biden was going to swing in here to save these people, these hospitals, stole their money, got them a bad loan, and now they're bankrupt. And he never delivered the promise of the large investment from the Middle East. What a piece of work, this guy. Hospitals. And worse, the defendant, James Biden, never repaid the loans to AmeriCorps Health, including during the time when they were strapped for cash. Can we get that loan back? Nope, never got it. Just took the money and ran. Which, if you lived in an actual country, right, you might functional justice system, maybe the FBI would like to look into that one, since they're not looking into anything else. Now, despite trustees' demand, defendant has still failed and refused to turn the transfers to the trustee. $610,000 loans stolen, not paid back. So count one, this trustee, who is the fiduciary of this entity, who's gone through all of their bank records, is now making these allegations, says within 2 years of the petition date, AmeriCorps Health made transfers to the defendant. The transfers constituted a transfer of an interest in AmeriCorps in their property, and AmeriCorps has received less than the reasonably equivalent value in exchange for the transfers, and was insolvent on the dates that the transfers were made, was engaged in a business transaction, and that these debts would be beyond their ability to pay. So they want this court to enter a judgment as it relates to Biden, James, declaring that the transfers were fraudulent transfers, avoiding the transfers made to the defendant as fraudulent, so declaring them either exempt from the bankruptcy proceeding, like they count or they don't, disallowing any claim that the defendant may have against the debtor, okay, so he can't come claim that he's owed money, and requiring the defendant to repay the transfers plus interest. So James got to pay that money back and grant other relief that may be proper. They say here, now we're incorporating all of these other documents. They say here, James also received $610,000. They were characterized as loans. That $600,000 is the property of the estate, and they're entitled to the return of that. So please enter judgment against James, $600,000 plus interest, anything else that you deem proper. So these guys are the biggest pieces of work, right? He's like promising people things and then bankrupting them. And probably, I bet he was double dipping on this. I bet that when he took these people to the hedge fund, he probably took some points on that. Like he probably got paid a portion of their loan to them at the high interest rate. And it was just, and then they go bankrupt and he's like, well, I'll just keep the money. I just put them into bankruptcy and I just absconded with their money. So here are some of the wire transfer documents. $400,000 right there. PNC Bank, Philadelphia. Here's the name. James Biden, right there. Sent over to him from AmeriCorps Health. AmeriCorps Health is the originator. Here's another one for $200,000. $200,000 there. The loan comes in. So he's trading on the Biden's name. He gets his $600,000. Look what they did. They put him as the principal. They made him official. AmeriCorps Health. Jim Biden. So when he goes around and he's like doing deals and stuff, he says, I'm working with them and I can get them loans from the Middle East. So he's trading on his brother's name. Okay. There is no James Biden name without Joe Biden. Okay. None of this exists without him. Saying that he was going to deliver large loans on the back of his name. There is no Biden name without Joe Biden. So another disgusting discovery. And the $200,000 went right to Joe Biden on March 1st, the same day that that transaction occurred. You see how that happens right there? Look at that. March 1st, cleared $200,000. Joe Biden gets the same check March 1st, 2018 for $200,000. And what James is selling is not possible without Joe. You see the nice little grift that they've got going on? So they're busted, and there's going to be a lot more to this. And I'm curious if Joe Biden, if his response to this is no, I actually did give him a $200,000 loan, and he's just repaying that back. Certainly we'll see that somewhere, right? Should show up in the taxes or your bank accounts somewhere. And it should be very easy to clear this up. All he's got to do is show us when he made the loan to James. My guess is he didn't. It's money. It's the Biden crime family grifting off their power, and they're trading on America's interest for their own personal gain. Now, we'll continue to cover it, my friends. Thank you for joining us as we do. Thank you for inviting somebody to join us on this channel or sharing a short video with somebody and say, hey, check out this lawyer, this weird guy in Arizona. Come and join us. We appreciate you subscribing and liking this video, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next one.